So RFK Jr. has stirred up a lot more controversy. He was on News Nation and he was being interviewed by Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, and James Carville. All four of which are smart men. I may not agree with them on every single thing that they say. I've definitely disagreed with Bill O'Reilly on a whole lot of things he said. But I don't think any of those four men are stupid. I think they are intelligent people. But they sit there and they let RFK Jr. make the claim that has been debunked time and again that the MMR vaccine contains dead fetus debris particles and DNA particles. That has been a conspiracy theory that has been debunked time and again. But these four men sat there and let him say it full chested, and they didn't even so much as flinch. They just rolled with it. Now, I don't really want to play this clip for you because I'm not trying to give RFK Jr. the microphone on this one to let him spread his insanity, but I just want you to watch how he says this full-chested with all the confidence in the world and how these four smart dudes just sits back and doesn't even flinch at this. Roll the clip.
There are populations in our country like the Mennonites in Texas who are most afflicted, and they have religious objections to the vaccination because the MMR vaccine contains a lot of aborted fetus debris and DNA particles. So they don't want to take it. So we ought to be able to take care of those populations when they get sick. And that's one of the things that CDC has not done. CDC has said the only thing that we have is vaccination. There's all kinds of treatments when people do get sick, and those people should be treated with compassion. I'll say, and we ought to have good treatments for them, and that's what we're developing at the CDC right now, protocols for treating measles. I want to say this. We've had 4 measles deaths in this country in 20 years. We have 100,000 autism cases a year. We have 38% of our kids now are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That should be in the headlines. When I was a kid, the average pediatrician saw 1 case of diabetes in a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. That should be getting the headlines. When I was a kid...
So they sat there and they let him say that, and they did not push back at all. They just rolled right into another question. And then later in the show, Bill O'Reilly just praised RFK for the way that he answered questions and gave him credit. And I know there had to be people sitting there in that audience saying, wait a minute, hold on. That's batshit crazy. We know that conspiracy theory has been debunked. I know the people sitting in that crowd wasn't just rolling with that. But what happens when you let someone say that and you never hold them to an account, and you go on to the next question, and then later you praise them, you're validating them. You're making people look at them and saying, oh yeah, maybe they really have a point. Oh yeah, maybe this vaccine really does contain those things. Oh, I better not let my child have one. You're doing so much damage to us all. This is our health, and I say this every time, but it should have never been made political. This isn't about the left versus right. This is about our health, and we have a nut job who continues to spread these kind of conspiracies, and they let him do it on national television. They let him do it where everyone can see it, put it right out there, and 4 dudes who I know are smarter than that just sit there. James Carville was a hero of mine when I was a teenager. I used to love that dude back in the 90s. I used to love the things he had to say. I couldn't wait to read his books. And he just sits there and doesn't say a word. Are you asleep? Did you pass out? What happened? Where did you go? Where did the James Carville of the 1990s go? Because I just cannot imagine that that dude would have sat there and let that roll off his chest, but he did. And I can tell you this much, I don't know where I will be mentally when I make it to 85. But if I'm ever sitting on a panel like that at 80-some years old and I let somebody roll off a line of garbage like that, please somebody just come and put me in the straitjacket and take me away, okay? Because at that point, I'm of no use to anyone. The fact that they sat there and let this dude say that will always be something. I won't forget that because it's truly sad. But I want to read you this article here about this whole controversy that he stirred up. Because, folks, this is a conspiracy theory of his that has been debunked, and we're going to read this article right here, and this comes to us from health.com. Fact check, does the MMR vaccine really contain aborted fetus debris? This was written by Jenna Anderson. So here we go. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. stirred up controversy Wednesday, telling reporters during a News Nation broadcast that the MMR vaccine contains a lot of aborted fetus debris and DNA particles. Kennedy's comments came while discussing the current measles outbreak, which has reached 884 cases, spread to 30 states, and resulted in 3 deaths. During the appearance, Kennedy cited the debris and particle as a reason why some religious communities in America, like the Mennonites in Texas, where the outbreak originated, don't want to get the vaccine. I got to stop right there and say that whenever they start bringing someone's religious beliefs into it, I tune out, because that's all just a matter of faith. That's all just something that someone was taught, and they believe a whole lot of wacky things. And so, I mean, to go there with it is ridiculous to me. But it's accurate that some groups have long objected to the way the vaccine was developed, but vaccine experts stress that Kennedy's statement is highly misleading. It is not true that the vaccines have fetal elements, debris, cells in them, said Shira Duran, an MD, Chief Infection Control Officer for Tufts Medicine and hospital epidemiologist. I can't talk today. At the Tufts Medical Center told Health. But what is true is that viruses that need to be grown to create vaccines are grown in cells, and in some cases, yes, human cells. Here's what to know about the production of the MMR vaccine, as well as what the shot actually does contain. No aborted fetus debris and DNA particles are in the vaccine. There is no evidence behind the claim that the MMR vaccine contains aborted fetus debris or DNA particles, experts said. However, rubella portion of the vaccine, the R, does rely on fetal cells in its development. Like many vaccines, the rubella vaccine has a weakened strain of the virus. Viruses can't exist on their own. They live in the cells of other organisms. When developing a vaccine, scientists need to grow viruses in animal and human cells in the lab. In the 1960s, scientists created a rubella vaccine with a virus grown from human fetal cells. Those cells were taken from fetuses involved in an elective abortion in Sweden at the time. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when viral research was really taking off, cells were harvested from fetuses that had been aborted. Amy Edwards, MD, an associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics at the Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine, told Health. These were not fetuses that were aborted to get these cell lines. These were elective abortions that women chose to have. Human fetal cells, specifically fetal fibroblast cells, are the best option for the rubella vaccine, experts said. The rubella virus grows well in them. They have no other harmful viruses, and the cell line can be used virtually indefinitely. That means that in a lab, scientists can replicate the cells using the initial samples from the 1960s. In fact, cells descended from those samples are used to create the virus in today's rubella vaccine. It is not like they are ongoingly harvesting these cells from fetuses, Edwards said. It's replicating a cell line. Once the virus has grown in the cell, scientists extract it from the vaccine, or extract it for the vaccine. When the virus escapes it, pops the cell and kills it, Edwards said. Then there's a purification step, which is where all cellular debris, DNA, extracellular DNA are washed away, so all you're left with is a pure virus for the vaccine, Edwards said. So what does the MMR vaccine contain? The MMR vaccine contains weakened strains of measles, mumps, and rubella viruses, as well as inactive ingredients that stabilize the virus, including sucrose, sugar, and gelatin. There are very standard drug ingredients, Duran said, nothing that is associated with harm. As described above, cellular debris and DNA are removed from the rubella viruses during purification. The shot only contains the weakened virus and stabilizing ingredients. Experts emphasize that the MMR vaccine is safe and encourage people to get vaccinated, especially in the light of an ongoing outbreak. Among all vaccines, MMR is by far the safest. It has been used so extensively throughout the world and has been so well studied. It's also one of the most effective. It's one of the best because it got the combination of safety and effectiveness that we love to see. So, folks, I want to say something too as I read you these type of articles. Whenever I'm reading to you about science or medicine or health, I want to drive home the point that I am not a doctor and that no one should ever take their medical advice from me. I'm a person who tries to dig in and read and research and find these things out, and I encourage other people to do the same. We have someone right now in a position of power over our health who is saying some very highly misleading things. There may be one kernel of truth way back when that someone like that will grab and throw out there, but it is completely misleading. And the fact that people just sits back, I know this guy's now in that position of power. Trump said to him, "Have fun with it, Bobby." I understand he's in that position of power, but because he is does not mean we go silent. And because he is does not mean that suddenly we think he's the expert on the subject. This guy does not have any degrees in science or medicine. He does not know what the hell that he's talking about. One of the most unqualified people for the job who has just sat there and constantly pumped one conspiracy after another, and that's what he's continuing to do. So just because he has that power does not mean that people sits there and normalizes it, same wash it and says, okay, well, yeah, a lot of people believe it. A lot of people believe a lot of things that aren't true. That does not give anyone the right to sit back and stay quiet and not say anything about it. To those four men who sat there and let him say that, Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, James Carville, the fact that they sat there and rolled with that and didn't call it out, we can't let this one get past us. We really can't. I believe the dude needs to be called out at every turn, and I believe that that more people needs to have the microphone to speak out against this insanity and listen to the experts, not listen to a guy who Trump empowered. And he empowered him because he knew he would be a loyalist. That's the only reason why he's there. He hated RFK Jr., called him the most radical one in the whole. He's the most radical left lunatic ever until he needed him, until he needed to get an even crazier sect of his Maga base. And that's why he got RFK Jr. And anytime RFK Jr. has said anything positive about a vaccine, Trump's crowd, that extreme crowd, turns on him. So they're loving him right now for saying this and spreading this bullshit out there. And we can't just sit back and be quiet and let him say these kinds of things. We have to hold their feet to the fire. Just because they won, just because they're in power, doesn't mean we sit there in silence and let them continue to push this insanity. So, folks, I want to thank you so much for supporting what it is that I do here on the channel. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, be sure to do so. It doesn't cost anything. If you like this kind of content, hit it and help us get to 1 million subscribers. And if you ever would like to donate a few bucks, we've been beefing up our Patreon and putting more content over there. And we've been talking about some other things over there. We've even reviewed candy bars. We've had fun getting away from the politics over there. So if you ever want to come over, be sure to check it out. The link is in the description of this video. But never back down and always stand up to insanity. And remember, just because they have the microphone does not mean they're right.